Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Okay, we're here on Daf Kuf Yud Dalid. We're holding an Ois Hey. Again, we're talking about the parallels, the different points that Shabbos and the Beis HaMikdash are similar in. So we're here in Ois Hey. In the Beis HaMikdash, there were the korbanos, and there was the achila, the eating of the korbanos. The eating of korbanos was considered to be very, very chashuv. Most of the korbanos could only be eaten by a kohen, but there are some korbanos that can be eaten by everybody, any tahor person. Maybe even the korban pesach, if it's brought b'tzibur, maybe it can be eaten betuma, if the different rules are met. But there's an idea, eating kachim is such an elevating experience. Eating food is such an incredible elevating experience that when the food is holy, we can't even imagine that. I just want to maybe take a side point just to give you an idea of what this means, that how elevating food can be. And from two different places. I believe the first one is from Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz, who says that, I believe that it's him, but I definitely heard it from my Rebbe, from Mordechai Winkelman, but I don't remember, maybe it wasn't Pishem, Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz, that the pasuk in Megillas Esther says an amazing thing. The pasuk says about Haman, that after Haman left from the first seudos that he had with Achashverosh and Esther, the first private seudos, that was when things started to shift, and he left, and he saw Mordechai, and he got so upset, and he decided he's going to hang him right away, and the whole thing changed over at that point. It says about Haman, when he left that first seudos, he was the simcha of a tuv levav. The pasuk says about a Rasha, somebody from Amalek, and the pasuk in Tanakh says about him that he was the simcha of tuv levav. How could that possibly be? If the pasuk says that means it really is true. It means that he really had reached a level of simcha. How could a goy, specifically from somebody from Amalek, be on such a level that the Torah says about him that he was besimcha, and he had a good heart? So I heard from my Rebbe that the reason why is because he ate from the food of this seudos that was prepared by Esther HaMalka. When a tzaddikis prepares food, she puts the kedusha into the food. Anybody who eats from that food has such an aliyah that even a Russia and even Haman can have such an elevation from eating that food. This is also an answer to a very difficult question that the Chazal tell us, that the Bnei Bonim of Haman lomdim Torah b'Bnei Brak. How could it be from Amalek there came children that learned Torah? How could that be? Where did it come from? Amalek is kulo ra. Amalek had to be eradicated completely because there's no tzad tov in it. How could there's no tzad tov at all in Amalek. That's why it has to be completely. All the other nations of the world, they have to be fixed, they have to be changed, they can be improved, and therefore they don't necessarily have to be wiped out. They're just making mistakes. We have to, when Mashiach comes, really, that's when it's going to be, that they'll wake up and they'll say, wow, you see, the Ribono Shel Olam is the creator of the world, the God of the Jews is the real God. They'll wake up and Amalek, no. Hashem's throne will not be complete until Amalek is wiped off the planet. So how could it be the Bnei Bonim of Haman will learn Torah in Bnei Brak? And that's where it came from. It came from this nekuda of kedusha that Haman got. This nekuda of kedusha that Haman got from eating the food of a tzaddikis. This also, my Rebbe mentioned this, the kedusha of eating food. Also, you see it by Yitzchak Avinu. It's Yitzchak said to Esav, I want to give you a bracha. But in order to give you a bracha, I want you to go prepare for me the food that I love. That's what it says. Yitzchak Avinu, who in this week's parsha becomes an oila tamima. He becomes a korban in front of Hashem that we every year on Rosh Hashanah we say, Hashem, remember Akedas Yitzchak, remember that. Right? It says, the pasuk says that we mention Zachor by Avram, and mention Zachor by Yaakov, but it doesn't mention Zachor by Yitzchak. Why not? Because he doesn't need to remember Yitzchak. The ashes of Yitzchak are always in front of Hashem. Hashem always sees them. Yitzchak was an oila tamima, and he says to Esav, I need to give you a bracha. These brachos are incredibly powerful. Ad kedei kach that Rivka said Esav cannot get these brachos. And Yaakov put his whole olam hazeh and olam haba online in order to get these brachos. And Yitzchak is ready to give these brachos over to Esav for some good food? How could that be? Doesn't make any sense. So my Rebbe said over, no, this is what you right? Yeah. Maybe, yeah, what did Reb Schwab say?
The kedusha, kibbutz.
Oh, so here, the kibbutz, just doing what I was told to do. But he meant when he was talking about the food, he's saying the food that I love. That's what the pasuk says. The pasuk says, I want you to bring to me the food that I love. Obviously, in the past, Esav has brought food to his father, and he loved the food. Again, the notion of ava is not like the way we use it nowadays. People in the street, they love their cars, right? You love your cars the same way you love your kids. It's the same word that they use, right? So the word is not as powerful, maybe, in the vernacular, the way it's used nowadays, as it really should be. Because the word ava is a very, very strong and powerful word. Just like the word sinah, I hate. Do you really hate a falafel? Right? I hate falafel. Pick another type of food, pickles. Do you really, hate is a strong word. Sinas chinam is what destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. That same hate is the same hate that you hate pickles. So when the Torah uses these words, they are real. They are real deep emotions. They're not the way that we use them nowadays. So the pasuk says that when Yitzchak Avinu he asked Esav that I want you to bring me food. He uses this lashon. He says, "V'asei li matamim kasher ahavti." Make for me this tasty food that I love. Ve'aviu li v'ochela. And you can bring it me and I'll eat it. So I'll be able to bless you. What's the pasuk saying? The pasuk is saying that the food itself is what's going to give me the ability to give you the bracha. The food is going to be an elevation for me. But how could that be coming from Esav? So my Rebbe said an interesting pshat. I don't remember where he heard it from. He said an interesting pshat. Nesiv Shalom says this pshat? Oh, you heard it? You heard it from him? Then Nesiv Shalom said? So he says a pshat. What? Yeah. So he says the pshat is that, so if it is, then maybe it's Nesiv Shalom says it. He says the pshat is that every time Esav would go hunting, he would bring back some nevela, right? Some dead carcass, and he'd bring it to his mother, and he would say, Mom, I got another good one for Dad. Can you mind do me a favor? I need a shower, put on my royal clothes when I serve Dad. And the Medrash says that Esav, when he served his father, was mamish b'chubad. He put on his royal clothing. He said, I need to get clean, I need to get set up, I need to get dressed. Do you mind preparing the food for me so I can when I'm done I can bring it in to Dad? Sure, Esav, honey, no problem. I'll do that for you. Yeah, as soon as he leaves, she throws it in the trash. And she goes and takes from her own stock that Yitzchak Avinu promised her in the ksuba, that she's allowed to take 2 gedim every day. So she took from her own, and she got it all prepared. And it was all done, ready. When Esav came back, Mom, you're the best. Thank you so much. And he'd bring it in to Yitzchak. And Yitzchak would feel kedusha coming in. Because when a tzaddik prepares food, like we just said by Esther, there's kedusha in the food. Yitzchak could feel that kedusha walking in the room. He could feel it. And when he ate the food, he had such an elevation from it. It gave him so much kedusha. So that's what Yitzchak always felt. It was a little ta'ut. The ta'ut was, he asked, Esav, you did this? You got this food? Yeah, Dad. It was me. For sure. Wow. This Esav guy, he's really funny. On the one hand, he seems like a batlan. And it seems like he's wasting time, hunting. Who does all that? But look at the type of food he prepares. It's unbelievable. It's so full of kedusha. It must be he's a tzaddik nister. Must be. Doesn't make any sense otherwise. What happened the last time was Esav had a hard time finding an animal. He ends up bringing back also maybe some kind of dog or nevela or something like that, and he's late already. And he comes and he does the same thing. Mom, can you prepare this for me? I'm already very late. I need to get ready. Can you please prepare the food for me? And she says, no, Esav, honey, I'm sorry, I'm too busy. I can't do it now. Because obviously she didn't want to do this for him. And Yaakov is getting the brachas already now. So she's like, no, Esav, I can't do it. I'm sorry. But Mom, you don't understand. It's an important day today. It's really, really important that I need to be ready. I need to do it. Esav, I'm really sad. Mom, I need it. I'm sorry, Esav. I'm sorry. I can't do it today. So he had to prepare it himself. And when he prepared this nevela and he brought it in to Yitzchak, what did Yitzchak feel like? Kohanim just walked in here. What just walked in? Oh my goodness. What is this? Who are you? It's me. It's Esav, Dad. Esav? Why is Kohanim coming in with you? What's going on over here? And then Yitzchak understood what was happening over here at that point.
They was first that was with God eyes. Jacob to throw if a costume to a costume.
There you go. Okay. That Esav also wears a costume. It's not just Yaakov was wearing, Esav is also. But Lamais, what do you see from this? You see the koyach of food. You see such koyach, such kedusha in food. When people ate from the kodesh, the kachim of the Beis HaMikdash, they were elevated, tremendously elevated. Unbelievable. That's what the meat of the korbanos in the Beis HaMikdash, not just the meat, the other korbanos too. Korban mincha, or the ofot, the korban, the chatas ha'oit, the Kohanim would eat. It was a tremendous elevation. And says Reb Pinkus, that's the same thing by Shabbos. The achila on Shabbos, the kedusha on Shabbos is, that food is, it's like it's straight from the Beis HaMikdash. It's straight from Hashem. He brings here.
How much more though? Yeah.
Add another mitzvah also. And you have a too. I don't know if that's what gives it extra kedusha, but certainly you have an extra mitzvah there. Right? Certainly you have an extra mitzvah. He brings over here in the second paragraph that this is mammon gavoya, meaning that the korbanos that the Kohanim are eating are actually the money. It actually is coming straight from the shulchan shalmaila. It's actually coming from Hashem's table. When you're eating korbanos, it's coming straight from Hashem's table. And it's the same thing by Shabbos. The Gemara, Masechet Beitza says that kol mizonosov shel adam kvutzim lo mi Rosh Hashanah ad Rosh Hashanah chutz meotzah Shabbos v'Yom Tov b'shkar bana of the Talmud Torah. All of a person's money that he's going to have the entire year are set from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. Whatever you're going to get, you're going to get. There's only certain things. There are certain extras though you can. No matter how much you spend on Shabbos, that money is not coming from your wallet. That money's not coming from your bank account. That money comes straight from Hashem. We discussed this in the past, in an earlier parak. I think the parak on Ata Echad, we discussed this. The Tiferes Gedula, that Hashem's greatness can be seen in the seudos because it's all coming straight from Him. So he says over here that we understand that the korbanos are kodesh kedoshim. We understand that can be straight from Hashem. But here, what about the Shabbos Suda, and what about Talmud Torah? So in the last paragraph here on Kuf Yudalid, he explains by Talmud Torah, a beautiful idea by Talmud Torah. I'm going to do it outside. Beautiful idea. The Gemara says, Shlosh Shutvim Ba'adam. There are three partners that create a human being: a father, a mother, and Hashem. The father brings the white. The white includes the bones. The mother is the red. The red is the flesh, the blood. And what's Hashem? Hashem is the neshama. So each one of the shutvim, each one of these partners has to take responsibility over the child. So the father takes responsibility over the clothing. He has to dress those bones. The mother takes responsibility over the food. She's got to nourish that flesh and blood. And Hashem takes responsibility over the neshama. And that's why he pays for the schar limud. He pays those very, very, very expensive bills for tuition. Hashem's paying them. That's what the Gemara says. Right? It's kind of like an interesting thing. We can look at it in two ways. I know that in America, in Eretz Yisrael, the tuition is much, much cheaper. Much cheaper. I'm going to make a plug for moving to Eretz Yisrael just for tuition's sake. Right? But in America, tuition is very, very expensive. Very expensive. But and people make a lot of money, and they spend all their money on tuition. You can think about it the opposite way. It's coming from Hashem. You really didn't deserve to make all this money. But Hashem wants to pay for the tuition. Hashem pays, so He gives you more money so you can pay for the tuition, because it's really in Hashem's hands. Because Hashem is taking responsibility, because He's a shutaf too. So that's why he's saying that's coming directly from Hashem. And also, when it comes to the food on Shabbos, Hu Adin Shabbos Kodesh, I'm on the top of Daf Kuf Tezvav. Hu Adin Shabbos Kodesh, Shehi Kula Beis HaMikdash V'Chelek Hashem Pshita, Shotzos Shalasuda Bo'oz Mimamon Gavoya V'Cheshbono Yisparach. It's clear that all, because this is straight from the Beis HaMikdash, and just like korbanos, the holy korbanos, which elevate us, comes from Hashem, so too the seudos Shabbos come from Hashem. There's no question that eating on Shabbos is a different type of eating. And that we're eating on Shabbos, we're connecting to Hashem. There's going to be a perek later on where it talks about Oneg Shabbos and how enjoying oneself, even in the physical realm on Shabbos, is the Ratzon Hashem. And therefore the eating on Shabbos is a different level of eating. And it's a level of connecting to Hashem through the physical. Moving on now. Oizvav. Beis HaMikdash haisa halacha shel bigdei kuna. There's special begodim, special clothing that had to be worn in the Beis HaMikdash. V'chein b'Shabbos, bigdei Shabbos. Also on Shabbos, we have special begodim. Like it says, the Gemara in Shabbos says, V'kivad v'so shelo yehab melbushcha shel Shabbos k'melbushcha shel kol. You should have special clothing for Shabbos. It should not be the same clothing as a weekday clothing. They call din hachlafas of begadim b'Shabbos nilma b'bigdei kuna. The Gemara learns the halachos of switching, of changing your clothing on Shabbos from the bigdei kuna. Minayin l'shinui begadim in Torah shenemer pasha is begadav lavash begadim acherim. We learn it from Parshat Tzab where the kohen would do the Trumas Hadeshin. How do you know that you have to change your clothing for Shabbos? Learn from the korbanos. And Mefarish Rashi, minayim sheshinu begadim shu derech kavod lifnei hamakom. How do we know that changing your clothing is a way of properly being mechabed Hashem? Again, the Shekhinah is coming in on Shabbos, so we have to properly be mechabed Him. Just like the Shekhinah is in the Beis HaMikdash. So when you go into the Beis HaMikdash, Kohanim, you're going to do avodah, you got to be wearing the right clothing. Mefarish Amarsha Shekai al Bigdei Shabbos. This is talking about Bigdei Shabbos, to be mechabed Hashem. Talking about on Shabbos when the Shekhinah comes in. Areilan she Bigdei Shabbos, Bigdei Kuna. Din echad mehem. Again, another parallel between Shabbos and the Beis HaMikdash. Zayin, mikdash ha'isa mitzvah rechitas yadayim reglayim. Before you went to the Beis HaMikdash, you had to wash your hands and feet. A kohen who did the avodah, if he didn't wash his hands and feet, it would be chayav misa. V'chein mitzvah derechot one of the other v'raglu v'chavod Shabbos. It's the same Shabbos. So mitzvah to clean yourself before Shabbos. Hinei b'mikdash ha'ya b'zeh shnei inyonim. Chada chiyuv mitzvah midaraisa. When it talks about in the Beis HaMikdash to wash your hands, first of all, there's a chiyuv mitzvah daraisa. Sheni tekanu t'chochamim. The second was the din d'Rabbanan. Hachiyuv min ha'Torah rechitas yadav raglav. The din d'Oraisa is a kohen must wash his hands and his feet before doing avodah. The chachamim, and in fact, the Mishnah in Maseches Talmud, I believe, says that they would warn right in the beginning of the day. They would warn the first Kohanim, don't touch anything until you wash your hands and feet. Don't do anything. You must wash your hands and feet before you start anything. The chachamim tiknu serech tvila. V'amru ein adam nichnas lazar la'avodah afilu Torah ad sheyitvol. The Rabbanan added another din, and that is you have to go to the mikvah. You have to be toivel even before you went into the azara, into the area where the mizbeach was. Even if you were already tahor, even if you were not tamei at all, you still have to be toivel. Abel pisha ein lo tuma. Even though you weren't tamei at all. You knew for sure you weren't tamei. You still had to be toivel before you went into the Beis HaMikdash. V'chein b'Shabbos. Also on Shabbos, you shnei halachos. There are two halachos. The rechitas, part of the other raglav. Have a halacha b'Shulchan Aruch. There's a halacha brought down in Shulchan Aruch that a person should at least wash their hands, feet, and face before Shabbos. Many people have a minhag to go to the mikvah on Erev Shabbos. You go to some of these places, like here in Beit Shemesh, some of the mikvahs on Erev Shabbos are packed. There are so many people that go to the mikvah on Erev Shabbos because that's part of preparing for Shabbos, and that's al pisoid. We're not going to go through what that means exactly in Yoni Kabbalah to prepare for Shabbos by going to the mikvah. So again, here another clear parallel between the Beis HaMikdash and Shabbos. Ches b'mikdash haya kodesh kadoshim shesham haya aron v'akruvim v'luchos. There was a kodesh kadoshim in the Beis HaMikdash. That was the makom of the Shekhinah was shruya. The makvil luchos of the Sefer HaTorah shehem kodesh kadoshim shel Yisrael. The Shekhinah was on top of the aron, but in between the wings of the kruvim, and on top and right above the ketores, which was the cover of the aron, where the luchos were. That's where the Shekhinah was. K'va amru Chazal, lo nita Shabbosos ela lasok b'Torah, shezeh kodesh hakadoshim shel Shabbos kodesh v'tachlis hakol. So Yerushalmi here, he brings Yerushalmi in Shabbos, it says that what was Shabbos given for? For Torah. For Torah. What was the aron? The aron was just a box. No, it wasn't just a box. It wasn't just a box, obviously. It was a box that the Shekhinah was on top of. Obviously, this was a special box. But what was so special about it? It had the edus in it. It was called the Aron HaEdus. What does it mean? The Ark of the Testimony. What testimony? The testimony is the luchos. The luchos is the kesher between Kal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is the Torah. So here he's saying, what's Shabbos? Shabbos is also kulo kodesh kadoshim because it's meant to be oisik in Torah. But Beis HaMikdash hayis hashras hashchina. V'chein b'Shabbos yesh hadgoshim yuchedes shel shalom bayis. V'hechen sheyesh shalom yesh hashras hashchina. This is already a very, very deep idea. We know the whole Beis HaMikdash was for the Shekhinah. Where do we have a Shekhinah nowadays? We don't have the Beis HaMikdash. Where do we have it? So the Gemara in Masechah Soita says, Ish v'isha zocha, Shekhinah shuyi b'neihem. How are they zoiche? How are the husband and wife zoiche? They're zoiche when they have shalom. When there's shalom bayis, when there's shalom between a husband and wife, that's when the Shekhinah shuyi b'neihem. That's the Shekhinah shuyi. There's so much of an emphasis put onto shalom bayis on Shabbos. Like we mentioned before in the Neiros Shabbos is a whole based on shalom bayis. And this is incredibly important to understand that shalom bayis, specifically on Shabbos, has a tremendous koyach. Again, theoretically in either direction. On a positive end, the Shekhinah is here. Shekhinah is coming in. And you have an opportunity with shalom bayis to bring the Shekhinah mamish into your home and into your family life. And that's incredibly powerful. That's incredibly powerful. That will bring bracha to the home. Like it says in, I believe it's in Shmuel Aleph, that when the Aron was in Golus and it was on its way back, so it stopped off in different places. And one of the places it stopped off, there was tremendous bracha. There was tremendous bracha. It was right after there was an incident on the road when it was coming to Yerushalayim with Uzzah. And David HaMelech said, no, because Uzzah died from this incident, so it stopped over there. I believe it was in Kiryat Ye'arim, I believe it was. That stopped there for a number of months, and the house that it was in was tremendously blessed. When the Shekhinah is shruya in a certain home, in anybody's home, there's tremendous bracha. The biggest bracha itself is the fact that the Shekhinah is there. That's the biggest bracha. You can feel, but where does Hashem want to be? Hashem wants to be where there's peace. Hashem was in the Beis HaMikdash. Hashem can be in each one of our homes, and certainly on Shabbos, where the Shekhinah is anyway coming into the whole world. So a person can grab on with shalom bayis can bring even more, that there can be even a heightened level of the Shekhinah in a person's home.
That's why we sing Eshes Chayil Friday night?
I don't know if it's why we sing Eshes Chayil Friday night, but maybe you can have kavanah for shalom bayis when you're singing Eshes Chayil, maybe, right? Eshes Chayil, what exactly is the Pasha Pshat in Eshes Chayil is a little bit, there are a lot of different parishim. There are a lot of parishim what is Eshes Chayil. So there's definitely a medrash that says the Eshes Chayil was a eulogy for Avram Avinu for Sari Mena. There's one pshat. Another pshat is talking about the Torah itself, the Eshes Chayil. And of course, you could say the Pasha Pshat is talking about an Eshes Chayil. But the Ma'aseh Shalom Bayis is such a huge theme in Shabbos as well, and that actually moves on to the next point, which is the ketores. The Mizbeach HaKetores HaKadmonim Kosu Al Derech HaPshat B'tam HaKetores B'Beis HaMikdash Shaya B'Shvil HaHagdil Kavod bayis. Why was there ketores? Why was there ketores in the Beis HaMikdash? To bring that there was more kavod to the Beis HaMikdash. Kosav HaChinuch. Efshar LaHagdil B'lei B'nei Adam Machshavoso Rak V'Dvarim Shechoshvim Otam L'Gadlos Mi'amtzu Behem Tanug V'Simcha V'Inyan HaReach HaTov Hu Davar ShaNefesh Nenebo Mit'abe Alav Moshe Chalev Harbe. When it comes to a smell, right? When we want to make an impression on somebody, to show that something is chashuv. So there are many different ways of doing it. One of the ways is through smell. We want to say, wow, this is something very chashuv. So we try to bring a nice smell. You walk into a house on Erev Shabbos and you smell smell all the wonderful things cooking. Or you come into shul on Shabbos afternoon and they had just opened the kitchen and the smell of that chulin comes out and you're like, whoa, right? It's a little bit too early. You don't want to smell that when you still have to wait another couple hours. But it's wow, it's tantalizing. The smell gives it a certain chashivas. The greatest smell that any human being could have produced was from the ketores. You can learn it. We wanted to bring a good smell into the Beis HaMikdash. That gives more kavod to Hashem, gives more kavod to the Beis HaMikdash. Even though we don't find a specific mitzvah with regards to smell on Shabbos, we don't find that. This is something also that's related to shalom bayis. There should always be that nice atmosphere on Shabbos. You should have shalom bayis in your home on Shabbos. What?
You didn't want to go to the umbrella, but I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, right. That's after Shabbos, and it's also make us feel better. Shabbos left, but it's very interesting. I don't think he brings it down over here, but we'll just end with this. We'll stop over here. I know we have a little bit left to finish the parak. We'll finish it next week, Be'ez Hashem. I believe there's a medrash that says that after Klal Yisrael did the egel, so there was a certain feeling of we're never going to be as close to a Kadosh Baruch Hu again as we once were. We're never going to have that level of Hashras Shechina like there was on Har Sinai because of the egel, because we did the egel azov. There was certain that feeling. Then they built a mishkan. And we wanted the Shechina to be Shvuya in Klal Yisrael. How do we know? So they bring a mashal of a king who got very upset at his wife and they made up. But people were still saying, "Oh, he doesn't like her. They're not really made up." So I said, "How are we going to show the world that really they made up?" He said, "If you make a nice smell coming from the chambers where you see that the king has come to greet the queen, bring a nice smell from there, then everybody will know." So that was the ketores. The ketores was that they brought shalom back between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Medrash says about the ketores didn't have any specific avodah. There was nothing it wasn't like a korban where you were sacrificing something. It was just kol kulo, the kesher between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. So we can see that there is a very deep idea, not just the pashut pshat, which is also true, that having a nice smell represents having a nice atmosphere where there's peace in the home, where there's a feeling of ni'imut, where there's a feeling, I feel good in the home. And that represents also the relationship between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. So that you could say, on the one hand, a good smell means that there's a good thing in the home. But there's also a deeper idea that the ketores itself represented shalom bayis. It represented that there really was a clear connection between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the shalom bayis that a person has in their own home is the prerequisite to that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu only wants to come to a home where there's shalom in the home. So yes, the Shechina might be coming in the whole world in Shabbos, but how do I make sure it comes into my own home? Have shalom bayis in your home, the Shechina will come into your own home. Okay, stop over here. Go ahead.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.